Your foot breaks through wicker concealment, 6 feet of freefall before the sharpened stake waiting below. You're screaming before impact. That's trap 1. You haven't even reached the castle yet. Medieval fortifications weren't just defensive architecture. They were elaborately designed killing machines where every pathway, every corridor, every innocent-looking floor tile could transform into your execution chamber. No dramatic sword fights, no heroic last stands, just mechanical brutality operating exactly as engineers designed it. You've seen movie sieges where heroes storm castles and somehow survive. Every single one of them skipped the part where medieval engineers spent decades perfecting ways to kill you before you ever saw another human being. Each trap gets worse, each one more inescapable. By the end, you'll understand why most medieval armies preferred starvation sieges to direct assault. Let's start with the trap everyone thinks they could survive. You're crossing the field outside castle walls, watching for arrows, not watching your feet. That's the mistake. The ground gives way. Your foot punches through wicker concealment into nothing. 6 feet of free fall onto a sharpened wooden stake. Impact drives the stake through your foot, up your leg. You scream, try to pull yourself up the slope. Can't. Too steep and your leg won't support weight. Blood pools at the bottom. Your blood. Then you notice the other pits, hundreds of them. Dense patterns with no gaps. Every third man in your army is falling, screaming identical screams. Some pits got flooded before the siege. Can't see the stakes anymore, can't judge depth. Water makes the sides slippery. Now you're drowning while impaled because you can't keep your head above water with a stake through your leg. Survival rate varied by stake placement. Foot wounds meant amputation and infection death within weeks. Thigh wounds meant bleeding out in the pit while your army marched past. The psychological impact was worse. Watch 50 men fall in the first minute and suddenly everyone's paralyzed, terrified to take another step. The assault stalls. Defenders shoot arrows into the stalled formation. The trap that seems most survivable turns your entire army into stationary targets. And that was just the field. Wait until you see what they built into the walls. You made it across the field, past the pits. You're inside the castle gatehouse, feeling safer. Then you look up and see the small holes in the ceiling. By then, it's already too late. Murder holes were openings positioned directly above anyone entering. Defenders could drop or pour anything through these holes onto attackers trapped below. Forget boiling oil. Too expensive, they used boiling water. They dropped rocks that crushed skulls instantly. They poured quicklime that burns skin on contact and blinds anyone who looks up. But the nightmare fuel? Human waste. Feces, urine, rotting animal carcasses. Things that cause infections in wounds. Armor has gaps. Medieval soldiers knew exactly where those gaps were. Some defenders poured heated sand. Sand gets into armor gaps, burns skin, can't be removed quickly. Unlike water, sand sticks and causes burns across entire body areas. The timing mechanism was calculated. Let the first wave through, let them think they made it. Then drop the portcullis behind them, trapping them inside. Then use the murder holes on the trapped group while the second wave watches. You're not fighting humans anymore. You're fighting architecture that treats you like livestock being processed. And the gatehouse hasn't even finished with you yet. The passageway narrows. You see an iron portcullis ahead, but it's raised. You keep moving. That's the mistake. Medieval gatehouses contained multiple portcullises. They looked like security measures. They were execution devices. Defenders let attackers enter. Walk past the first portcullis, get halfway through, then they drop both simultaneously. 300 pounds of spiked iron slamming into floor grooves. Now you're trapped between two impassable barriers with murder holes above you. The corridor becomes a killing box. Defenders pour everything, boiling liquids, rocks, burning materials, quicklime, sand. You try to lift the portcullises, can't. Each weighs more than 10 men can lift it. You can see defenders above you, can see them preparing the next pour, can't do anything about it. The psychological torture was calculated. Trap soldiers where they can't fight back and they break faster than if you just killed them in battle. Some surrendered immediately. Defenders killed them anyway. Survival time varied by how much material defenders had stockpiled. Most died within 20 minutes. If you somehow survived this, you still had to enter the castle interior, where the architecture stopped pretending to be defensive. You're inside, following a spiral staircase upward. Narrow, dark. You're focused on not tripping. Then you realize the stairs spiral clockwise going up. That wasn't random, that was murder by mathematics. Medieval staircases spiraled clockwise specifically to advantage defenders. Attackers climbing up had the central column on their right side, restricting their sword arms. Defenders fighting downward had open space on their right, full range of motion. The steps weren't uniform height, deliberately irregular. Defenders who lived here knew which steps were taller, which were shorter, could navigate in darkness, attackers tripping on irregular steps while defenders cut them down. Some castles built false steps that collapsed under weight. You're climbing, focused on the defender above you, then the stone step breaks and you're falling backward down spiral stairs in full armor. The fall kills you, the defenders just watch. The worst versions included murder holes in the staircase ceiling. You're fighting upward, already disadvantaged, and now boiling water pours from above while you can't retreat because more soldiers push from behind. Survival rate for attackers taking spiral staircases, effectively 0 against prepared defenders. And if you think architectural disadvantage is the worst trap, you haven't seen what they built into dungeon floors. The French called it the Forgotten Place. The name tells you everything. The oubliette was a vertical shaft dug into castle foundations, 6 to 12 feet deep, narrow, accessible only through a trapdoor in the ceiling. They lowered you with rope, pulled the rope back up, closed the trapdoor, you're standing in complete darkness, barely wide enough to turn around. The only light comes from the trapdoor above, always out of reach. The narrow diameter was calculated, wide enough that you couldn't brace against walls to climb, narrow enough that you couldn't sit comfortably. Some narrowed toward the bottom, making lying down impossible. You could stand or crouch, those were your only positions for however long you survived. Some oubliettes had spikes at the bottom, not sharpened stakes to impale quickly, but rough metal points positioned for maximum discomfort without killing. Lie down and spikes press into your back. Stand and your legs give out, forcing you onto the spikes. The psychological torture was worse. You could see the trapdoor, could see light filtering through, could hear sounds from the castle above. You weren't isolated from the world, you were close enough to hear it, but too far to ever reach it. The worst version at Leap Castle in Ireland, an oubliette with spikes and water periodically let in. Prisoners had to balance on spikes in darkness while water rose. Slip and drown, stay on the spikes and slowly bleed out. Survival time 3 to 7 days depending on physical condition. In spiked versions, hours to days. The oubliette was where they put people they wanted to erase. Not execute publicly, just remove from existence. Drop them in, close the door, forget the name. But this isn't the most psychologically devastating trap yet. You're walking through a castle corridor, stone floor beneath your feet, solid, reliable. Then it isn't. The floor section gives way, not all at once, just enough that you feel it shifting. You try to step back, too late. The entire section tilts and you're sliding into darkness below. Medieval engineers built trap floors into high-traffic corridors. Stone slabs balanced on hidden pivots. Walk over them wrong and they tilt, dumping you into pits below. The pit depth varied, some 20 feet, some 50, some with sharpened stakes at the bottom. The mechanism reset automatically. The stone slab tilted, dumped you, then swung back into place. The next attacker saw normal floor, had no warning, fell just like you did. Some trap floors dropped you into oubliettes. You survived the fall, now you're trapped in a vertical shaft with no escape. Some dropped you into rooms that defenders could then seal. You're locked in darkness with whoever else fell, slowly starving. The cruelest versions dropped you into water cisterns, deep underground reservoirs. You can swim, but there's no way out. Just stone walls and water. You tread water until exhaustion takes you, drowning in darkness while the castle continues above you. Defenders marked safe paths with subtle indicators only they knew. A scratch on the wall, a specific stone pattern. The attackers saw uniform floor and walked confidently into traps. The psychological impact destroyed assault momentum. Watch someone fall through a solid floor and suddenly nobody trusts any surface. The advance stops. Everyone's testing each step. Defenders shoot arrows into paralyzed formations. Trust nothing. Not walls, not floors, not anything. That's what this trap taught. But the final trap combines every horror you've seen into one architectural nightmare. You look at the Barbican and see a passage leading to the gatehouse. Narrow corridor with high walls. It looks like the route inside. That's because it was designed to look that way. The Barbican was an extended killing corridor. Thin passageway with high walls on both sides, towers flanking the route, multiple sharp turns forcing attackers to slow down, every element designed to maximize casualties. You enter the Barbican, stone walls rise 20 feet on both sides. The passage ahead curves right, you follow. Can't see what's ahead because of the turn. Can't retreat because more soldiers push from behind. Defenders on the walls above rain arrows straight down. Crossbow bolts, rocks, boiling liquids. You can't raise shields effectively because walls are too narrow for formation fighting. You're single file in a corridor designed for execution. The turns get sharper. Each curve forces you to slow down. While you're navigating blind corners, defenders above have perfect visibility. They see you coming. You see nothing until you round the turn into another killing zone. Some Barbicans had murder holes in the floor. You're walking on stone, then suddenly the section drops away and you're falling into pits below. The corridor itself becomes a trap. The final turn leads to the gatehouse. You think you made it. Then you see the double portcullis trap waiting. The entire Barbican was just the funnel leading to the real execution chamber. The psychological devastation was total. You walked into an obvious trap because there was no other route. You knew defenders were killing you from above, knew the passage was designed for your death. Couldn't do anything about it because turning back meant fighting through your own army. Survival rate for attackers taking a defended Barbican, under 10%. Most died in the corridor. The few who made it through faced the gatehouse traps. The Barbican wasn't architecture, it was industrial-scale murder using stone and geometry. You thought you could storm a castle, fight your way inside, maybe die heroically in combat. Medieval engineers had different plans. These 7 traps escalated from painful to psychologically devastating. From wolf holes that killed your legs to Barbicans that killed your hope. Each one designed not just to kill, but to terrify the next wave of attackers. The real horror wasn't the violence, it was the calculation. Engineers spent decades perfecting these mechanisms, testing on criminals, measuring how much pain human bodies could endure, building the knowledge into architecture that would kill efficiently for centuries. Most medieval armies chose starvation sieges over direct assault because the alternative was walking into architectural murder systems where survival was statistically impossible, where every step could be your last, where walls didn't just defend, they executed. The siege lasted months, the assault lasted minutes. The traps made sure most attackers never even saw the defenders they came to fight. That's what medieval fortifications really were. Not castles, but calculated death machines, where human life was just another variable in architectural equations designed to maximize suffering.